Today, we're going to change over from adding and subtracting fractions to multiplying and dividing. And just like everything that we've gone over so far, the rules are different from add and subtracting fractions. Multiplying and dividing have totally different processes and different rules. Now, I like multiplying and dividing better because you don't have to deal with common denominators in multiply and divide. I'm going to show you how to multiply and divide, but we're also going to go over a process called cross-canceling that will help you work these even more. So, remember, in add and subtract, you had to have common denominators. In multiply and divide, let's do an example. Here's a multiply. Remember, that is the multiply sign, so we don't get it mixed up with our variable x's later. Times 3/4. Now, when we were adding and subtracting, we said it's so much easier to put these underneath each other because we have to find common denominators. But in this case, we don't have to. All you have to do is multiply the tops and multiply the bottoms. And this is the answer. Now, what you're going to do is look at it one more time and make sure it's in the lowest terms. But the top and the bottom will not divide by the same number. 3 is prime. So this is the lowest terms, and that is multiplying fractions. Was that number 1? No, this is just something out of my head. Okay. Okay. Like, that doesn't look right. We'll work some off your worksheets in just a little bit. So multiplying fractions are that easy. Now, what I want to do is show you another example. Let's do 2/3 times 1/4. Okay. Now, in this case, again, you multiply across the top, multiply across the bottom. But when we look at our answer now, we find out that it's not in lowest terms because the top and the bottom will divide by 2. And so your lowest terms and the best answer is 1/6. So remember, multiplying across the top and multiplying across the bottom doesn't necessarily give you the lowest terms. Always check your final answer and see if you can go further. Okay? Now, the reason that I bring this up, first of all, is you're going to hit a bunch of these. Second of all, this is where I want to show you about cross-canceling, because cross-canceling will allow you to have lowest terms answer without reducing, okay, without simplifying. So remember, if we have a fraction 5/10, we know that we can divide the top by the same thing as we divide the bottom. So we can divide by 5 and divide by 5, right? Now just pay attention to me because I'm working on something, okay? Now, what if you had 2/4? You know that you can simplify this one because the top will divide by 2 and the bottom will divide by 2. Notice that every time the top, which is the numerator, and the bottom, which is the denominator, will always divide by the same number, right? Right. So in multiplication, you can do the same thing. It's a modified simplify. It's called cross-canceling. So let's do this. I'm going to do the same problem again. We'll come out with the same answer. But in multiply, you can do some simplifying before you get to the answer. So when we were simplifying, we had a top with a bottom that would divide by the same numbers, right? So we can look at an entire multiplication problem, no matter how many numbers are in this. We can look at the whole thing, and if we can find any top with any bottom, here, 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 top, bottom, if we can find any top with any bottom that will divide by the same number, then we can simplify it right here in the problem before we get to the answer. For instance, here's a 2 on the top, here's a 4 on the bottom, does not have to be in the same place as long as it's multiplied. So the 2 on the top and the 4 on the bottom will divide by the same number. They'll divide by 2. And so you can do that right here in the problem. So 2 divided by 2, we're going to mark that out and put a 1. I like to circle it because there's going to be a lot of numbers. 4 divided by 2, because we're dividing by the same thing. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Now you have just cross-canceled. You have simplified the fraction before we even get to the answer. Now, I don't see any other place. I'll show you a different one in a little bit. Now, we multiply the tops together. So 1 times 1 is 1. 3 times 2 is 6. And we have found the same answer without having to simplify at the end. Do y'all see? Can you see? Because I keep turning my back to you. Do you need to move over here?
No, I see it.
You can tell. Okay. So that is your first look at cross-canceling. Let's practice some more. I'm going to make up another one, and then we'll move on to the worksheet because it deals with mixed fractions and whole numbers, which now are not that big a deal to us. Nothing new. We're just putting it into multiplication problems. Let's do 8/9 times 3/4. Now, yes, if you have trouble with cross-canceling, you can come straight across and you can say 24 over 27, then divide the top and the bottom by 3, and then you get 8/9 for our final answer. But when you get used to cross-canceling, it's so much easier. You'll start to see the cross-canceling. 8/9 times 3/4. Let's look at this. I'm going to look for any top with any bottom that will divide by the same number. Well, I see 8 and 4, and both of those will divide by 4. So I'm going to divide this one by 4. Now remember, it has to be a top with a bottom. It can't be 2 tops, okay? So 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. And we say, yay, hooray. But there's more cross-canceling here. Now, hang on, I've done something wrong. Hang on. Yes, I did, right here. It's already a Monday. Let's fix this. 9 times 4 is not 27, it's 36. And I bet you a lot of you already saw that. 24 will divide by 12. Now, 36 will divide by 12. Now we have 2/3, much better. On Monday, I don't multiply apparently. 9 times 4 is 36, not 27. I apologize. Okay, we're going to come back. This cross-canceling was correct. But if you look at the problem, there's more cross-canceling. Here's a 3 and a 9. Both of those will divide by 3. When I divide by 3 here, I get a 1. When I divide by 3 here, I get a 3. Now I can multiply straight across, and I have 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. This is okay if you want to do this, but don't be afraid to try cross-canceling. After you get used to cross-canceling, you'll really, really like it, and it's quick. Okay? Does everybody get the idea of cross-canceling? We'll probably do some more. Simon, are you okay with cross-canceling?
Yes.
Okay, Sherry?
Yes.
Okay, Brittany, are you okay here? I know that you're feeding the baby too.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, let's look at the first one now on this worksheet, 1A. And you can relax a little bit here on this Monday because we're going to multiply for a while. And then I'm going to show you how to divide, and it's even easier. Okay, good news? Even easier than this. Okay, number 1A is 4, 4, 6. Okay, whenever we have a whole number, we found out in the past that if we're dealing with fractions anywhere in the problem, let's make it all fractions. And we found out that you can just put it over 1, and put a whole number over 1 and make it a fraction. Okay, so now this is the multiplication problem that we're dealing with. Now be very careful. If you're looking for cross-canceling, you cannot cross-cancel a top with a top. It has to be a top with a bottom. But if you look here, we have a 4 and a 6. Both of those are even, and so I know they're going to divide by 2. So if I divide by 2 here, I have a 2, and if I divide by 2 here, I've got a 3. Now you're going to look everywhere else and see if there's a top with a bottom anywhere. And I don't see any more cross-canceling, so we just multiply the top. 2 times 4 is 8. The bottom 1 times 3 is 3. Now this is the simplified version because we did all the cross-canceling. So we know that's the lowest terms. But if the answers in your multiple choice are mixed fractions, let's go ahead and practice that. So we have 8 divided by 3. Top dog goes in the house. So 3 goes into 8 2 times. And we get 2 as the remainder. Put the remainder over the divisor. So the mixed fraction, 8/3 is 2 and 2/3. It'll just depend on what's in your multiple choice. Good? Questions on this? Okay, let's do one more on that front page on 4A. 4A. And then, believe it or not, we're going to go ahead and skip to 4A says 5 and 1/6. Brittany, can I get you to mute?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. So we have to multiply here, and it's a little tempting to multiply 5 and 6 and get 30, and then multiply these. And there is a process that would work. but you have to do some carrying and you have to be really careful. So the easiest way, and you know I like to show you guys the easiest way, is go ahead and just change this to an improper fraction. Remember the check mark? 5 times 6 is 30, plus 1, 31 over 6, times what?
Oh, 6 times 7
Yes.
is, I messed up now.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do it. 6 times 7 is 42, plus 4, 46, and we put that over 7. Yes?
Yeah.
Again, it is perfectly fine to go across here and go across here and then simplify your answer. But let's practice cross-canceling. Cross-canceling will help you so much if you'll get in the habit. Here are some even numbers. These are even. And so I know they'll divide by 2. So when I divide that by 2, I'm going to get 3. And when I divide that by 2, I'm going to get 23. Okay? Now, when I'm looking for more to cross cancel, of course, I'm going to look here and here and here. But 31, I'm pretty sure is prime. I know 7 is, 3 is, and 23 is. If they're prime, they're not going to cross cancel. And so I do not have my calculator. Somebody have their calculator for the top? Okay, 31 times 23, please.
It's 713. 713.
7 what?
113.
13 over 21. And because we did all of our cross canceling, it's good to check, but if we got all our cross canceling done, this will be the lowest terms, and in this case it is. So this is a perfectly good improper fraction. It is a good answer. If your answers on the test are in multiple or mixed fractions, then we're going to change it to a mixed fraction. Top dog goes inside the house. Let's go 3 times 63. We have 83 left, and 4, it's got to be 3. 63 minus 20. And so this is, we're done with all the numbers. So 20 is the remainder over the divisor. This answer and this answer are equal to each other, and both of them are correct. They're just in different forms. Any questions? We're in our second packet, packet 2, the multiply and divide. Multiplying and dividing fractions. Okay, any questions on this? So this should take you through page 1. Let me check and see if there's any surprises. Remember, if you're dealing with a whole number, put it over 1. And please practice your cross canceling. And then the third sheet is going to have some word problems that deal with multiplication. And it gives you a little hint at the top, you're going to be multiplying on all these problems. Okay? Now let's go to division. And I told you that multiplication was easier than add and subtract. Division is easier or about the same as multiplication, but I think it's easier. It's easier to learn. Okay, I'm going to make up one before we hit the worksheets. Let's say 3/4 divided by 1/2. Now, the cool thing is that when I tell you we're going to divide fractions, we never divide fractions. We never divide fractions. So what are we going to do with this problem? It says divide fractions. Well, what we do is convert the division into a multiplication problem. We change it, okay? So I'm going to say 3/4, but I want to multiply. So change this. Now, what we found out in everything that we've done so far, and you'll find it holds true all the way through algebra, is if I make one change, I have to make another change to counteract it and put everything back to equals, okay? So you can't just make one change in a problem. So the change that we're going to make, the first number or fraction is the same. We made our change here, so we have to make our change here. We're going to flip. So the way you divide is to write the problem, change to a times, and flip flip the fraction that comes after this change. Okay? So now we're at a multiplication problem again. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 1 is 4. And then we have to simplify by dividing by 2 equals 3/2. But if we had to simplify here, then there must be some cross canceling in here. Let's practice the cross canceling. We're looking for a top that matches a bottom that can be divided by the same number. So 4 and 2 can divide by 2. Let's divide by 2 here and divide by 2 here. So this becomes 1. This becomes a 2 because we simplified these two numbers. Now I'm going to look here. Nothing will divide. Look here, 1s and 1s. That's nothing. Look here. Okay, nothing else will divide. So multiply across the top. Multiply across the bottom. And we get the same answer, but we don't have to simplify. If you change this to a mixed fraction, we're going to come out with 1 1/2. All of these are the same answer. Any questions? Okay, let's do a division problem. Let's look at 2b. 2b. It's on page 4 if you numbered your pages. We're on the fractions worksheet, but it shows divide, and I'm going to 2b. Yes. And remember, if we're working with fractions, let's make our whole number be a fraction also. It's as easy as putting it over 1. Remember, we don't divide fractions. Of course, your calculator will do it, but remember those several questions that won't let you use the calculator. You should know how to do it by hand before you start using the calculator, always. So if we have a division problem, we know we want to change it to multiply. So the first number stays the same, but we're going to make our first change here. So we have to make our balancing change here, 7/6. We're going to flip the one that comes after the first change. Now I have 35/6 because there was no cross canceling to be done. And when I change this to a mixed fraction, you're going to have 5 5/6. Both of these again are the same answer. Any questions on that one?
How did you get 5 and 5/6?
because I took 35 and I divided it by 6. 6 times 5 is 30. And then my remainder is 5 over the divisor.
Okay.
Did you get it? Okay. Did I go too fast?
No, I was just like, always.
It just didn't work. Questions, girls? We're fine. Okay, any questions online? Anybody? I'm assuming you're still there. Any questions, Simon? Any
No.
questions, Brittany?
No.
Any questions, Sherry? Sherry Sue, did I lose you? Okay. Let's do one. This isn't off your worksheet, but I want to make sure that you know how to do this. Let's do 2/3 divided by 8 2/3. Okay, before, remember in any of our problems, we found out that if we change the mixed fraction, the mixed fraction to an improper fraction, we should do that first before we do anything else. Change this to an improper fraction. So now we have 2/3 divided by 26/3. Okay, because I changed this to a improper fraction. 3 times 4 is 24. 3 times 8 is 24, 25, 26 over the 3. Then change it to a multiplication problem. We make the change here, so I have to make the change here. Again, yes, you can multiply straight across and simplify, and that's fine. I encourage you to cross cancel. So I'm immediately seeing a 3 and a 3, and I know both of those will divide by 3. So I'm going to divide by 3, and it gives me a 1. I'm going to divide this by 3, and it gives me a 1. So am I done? Somebody talk to me, it's Monday.
No.
So I'm finished? Cross canceling?
No.
No, why, Simon?
Because you could do 2 from the 2 and 2 from the 26.
Okay, the 2 and the 26 will divide by 2. Both of those are even. So let's divide by 2 here. Do you see why I circle my new answers? Because see all the numbers? I'm going to divide by 2 here, and I get a 13. Now everything has been cross-canceled. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 13 is 13. And this one, because the top isn't larger than the bottom, I'm not going to change to a mixed fraction. 1/13 is our lowest terms answer. Are y'all good? It's a short lesson, but this is one that needs to be practiced. Are there any questions that you need to ask?
Yes.
Okay,
When you're doing the division part, everything stays the same, but when you're doing the multiplication, you just switch them around?
backwards from what you said.
Okay.
When it's multiply, everything's fine. When it's divide, you need to flip. You change the divide to multiply. First of all, we change this.
Okay.
But before you do your work,
Okay.
you need to change the divide to multiply and flip.
Okay, so everything else basically stays the same.
Yes,
Okay.
yes,
All right.
yes. When you change to a multiply, all the rules for multiply apply. Okay?
All right.
And there's 2 ways to multiply.
Yes. Yes, y'all missed this part. So if you need some help again, I'd be glad to when this is over. Okay, you just bring it on, come on up. Because we talked about cross canceling. We found out in the beginning that you don't have to cross cancel, but cross canceling keeps you from having to simplify your answer. Sometimes the answer is huge, but if you cross canceled, it's not so big and it's in the lowest terms. Okay, but I would be glad to help you out. It's a pretty easy process. Okay? You okay, Vanessa? All right. Okay, Sherry, are you back yet?
Yes, I'm sorry. I had to get my kids' jackets and stuff on.
I knew that was probably the case. And I know that I have some questions to answer for you that you asked me over the weekend and I missed. So let's go ahead and finish this lesson. I'm going to stop the recording now. Unless Simon, Brittany, do y'all have any questions?
No.
You okay, Brittany? Brittany's putting the baby down. Okay. Then know that I love y'all. I'm going to